What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Audiophiles Podcast.
I'm Malik, one of your co-hosts, and I'm joined here today with Knox, one of the smartest experts in the business music field there is. We were so lucky to have Thomas Brunet, the composer for Chants of Sennar,
Which we covered back in episode 2.
Oh yeah, just a few weeks ago. It was so great to have him on.
We replied to his comment, and we said, do you want to talk about your work on the show a bit? And we're so excited to show it with you. Welcome for our first Composer Spotlight, Mr. Thomas Brunet.
I'm curious if you could go back to like yourself when you were starting your career. What advice would you give yourself? What would you say? Hey, make sure look out for this kind of thing.
Look out for people who ostensibly tell you they're your friends, because usually friends don't really need to say that. And I've had a few adventures like this where you don't really need a contract. You don't really think things in advance because we're doing things old school. I don't know.
We're friends.
We're
just buddy. Yeah.
Let's do it, man. This kind of discourse is fine if you don't intend to make it your career, because it's also fun to have side projects and just pick up the guitar and jam. But that's not what you want. If you want to make this into your career, you should run away from these people. Never start working without a contract.
That's a great specific piece of advice right there.
Yeah, and one of the things, maybe you'll tell me more and teach me about this, but I think I read something regarding music marketing specifically, where there's a difference, or marketing in general even, there's a difference between the price of something and the value of something. And people will associate the first number you tell them with the value of your work. And then if you say, okay, let's negotiate. Let's see if we can't do like less music or less instruments in the music, or have more time, further away deadline, and then reduce the price. People will still associate your work with the first number you give them, which is the value. And my advice would be always give a first number which you think is slightly too much. And you're like, I would be satisfied with like 10% less or 5% less, but let's just be honest with ourselves, and it's a lot of work, and it's taxing. And in my case, I would have been inclined to do the opposite, being like, I'm starting out and I'm just a musician, I'm just a composer, and I do what I love. And society also incites you into this vicious circle where you're not really working, right? Because you're not lifting heavy weights, and that's true. On the other hand, you're a highly specialized, highly dedicated professional, and you often work nights and weekend, although I don't do that anymore. But this would also be a great piece of advice to my younger self. Stop working at, 5, 6, 7 p.m. Just stop answering your email, stop answering your Discord, disconnect, and go play a game, go live your life, go play with your kids if you have some. And also weekends, don't answer anything during the weekend. Some stuff, I never took it too far, but if you don't, as someone I love once said, being on your own, being a freelance, and being your own boss often means working for an imbecile. And so from your own mistakes as your boss, and you have to think, okay, I'm my boss. What would my boss say to me, and what would I say to my boss? And then if these two people can find a right compromise, then you're probably on the right track. But don't neglect mental health, don't neglect sleep. Yeah, you see a lot of people being really proud of not sleeping or working late, and I can understand why they would do it. I'm not disparaging people doing it, because I can totally understand the amount of work coming your way, and there's no humanly possible way to do it without hiring an entire new team. So you have to hustle, and it's not by choice, I imagine. But then you also kind of get into the rhythm of it, and the more you say yes, the less you can say no.
Yeah.
And people get used to it. When people respect your boundaries, they can be your friends, because this is an industry where everyone is passionate and they really want to make the best possible work of art. I really don't agree with people saying, "Oh my God, devs are lazy and devs have an agenda or whatever." They just want to make a great game.
Yeah.
And they want to do it while retaining their mental health and social lives.
What is next for you? I know you obviously you can't talk about whatever projects you're working on currently, but long term in your career as a composer, what kind of projects do you want to be working on? What do you want to do? And how are you setting yourself up for that right now?
That's a very interesting question in my case, because it seems that I've hit this is my Chance of Samurai is my second ever game score. It's the first actually, developed score. Previous one was 15 minutes long. So this is essentially my first.
And how many minutes was Chance?
82. It feels like I've hit the bullseye, because obviously if they hired me, it was because all the music they heard corresponded to their needs, which were many. And obviously for me, it was like the perfect example of something that would probably not happen again, because I'm really passionate about traditional music from all around the world. I've been teaching Brazilian percussion. I've been learning about African music, about music from my country, specifically traditional music. This is something I really wish to explore, and you can never explore it 100%. It's too rich. And then, first big project, you get to write like 5 different musical universes like this, with traditional instruments, with perfect clients, it would seem. All of a sudden you're like, can it only go down from there? So I think I want to keep doing new things, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do it with the next project I'm doing right now, which I can't talk about, obviously. But it's something very different from Chance of Samurai, and I couldn't be happier, and I'm very grateful that I get to do something so different, because I think as artists we have this tendency to fall into patterns, I guess. But it's one of my great fears that I write something and I'm like, how is this different from this other project I did, and how did I personally progress? So I'm very happy with the project I'm working on right now. I have 2 other games coming up in the next months or years. So I'm really happy about this. Most importantly, I would hate to be, stuck in the same styles forever or the same methods. I'd like to do things differently. Maybe, one of my big dreams would be to assemble a team of musicians and just to lock ourselves up in a studio for 2 weeks and bang on stuff and find
That's the percussionist in you.
What can I say? And just improvise and collectively find something that people would say, I never quite heard something like this before. And that would be my dream project. Yeah. Amazing. Just to live on pizza and beers in the studio.
I want a music recommendation and a game recommendation off the top of your head.
Okay. The soundtrack from a small French game called En Garde, which is a fencing game. And there's, I can't remember the composer's name. I have to look it up real quick. He did this incredible flamenco fusion soundtrack. Incredible. I haven't seen it in award shows this year, or it's from 23. Jean-Claude Charlier. The game's called En Garde with the exclamation point. And the soundtrack is on YouTube.
Okay. And
this one is, you want to listen to this one.
What's so cool about it?
It is so rich and explosive, and you can listen to it 20 times and find 20 different things that you haven't heard before. The orchestration is so well made, and the mixing and everything. I don't know. I find it really fascinating. Also because I would be utterly incapable of writing something like this. So that might be why.
Cool.
But it's brilliant.
And what's the other piece?
the other piece would be from The Witcher 3, which is the game that don't need more people talking about it, but it's one of these. In the few interviews I gave, I didn't talk about The Witcher 3 and how it influenced me, which is a grave mistake, which I'm preparing today. It did really strike me. This is an area that I didn't really explore musically, Eastern Europe just a little bit, but then the whole Slavic part of the continent and the culture around this. And obviously Witcher 3 is one of the games that represent it so well because it has all this literary material behind it, and the music is extraordinary. And that's what they did, what I just said. They went into a studio with a band called Percival Schuttenbach, which is the name of the character in the books, and they just not banged but strummed and bowed on stuff, and they just wrote incredible music. I think there were two composers, Polish composers, if I'm not mistaken. The band couldn't read sheet music, and they still did something that I haven't heard anything like it before or since. Especially the string sounds totally hypnotized me. We're talking about the pure sound of the violin. This is not it. This is like the grittiest possible sound you could get from I don't know what it is, probably some kind of viola da gamba or something,
right,
in the vicinity of that. But yeah, it really shaped the way I wanted parts of my writing to sound like. The more somber parts, let's say, are very heavily influenced by The Witcher 3, at least the traditional part of the score. A game that I played, don't really.
I know it can be hard as an adult to actually have time to sit down and play games.
Yeah, this is the curse of our profession.
Oh yeah, one of my main pitches for when we started was we just don't have time to play games anymore. So if we don't do it for work, it's just not gonna happen.
Yes, let's make it our job. Yes. And Baldur's Gate 3 just ate 100 hours of my time.
I know. I'm 130 hours in and I only just got to Act 3.
Yeah, I don't regret anything.
What class are you playing, by the way? I have to know.
Warrior. But I need to do a run with Bard.
I was gonna say.
Musicians have to play Bard, and the Dark Urge Bard at that. I've played Baldur's Gate 3, I've played Stray Gods maybe, although it is a big game, but I feel I expected it to totally explode, but that might be my very biased way of considering anything Austin Wintory works on is unattainable and should be venerated as such. But I think it could have had a lot more publicity, I guess. That might just be me, but anyway, It's incredible. I haven't finished it yet because I really want to take the time to not study, but when you look at how complex the music is in this game and how it evolves, it follows your choices. I don't know if you're familiar with the Stray Gods.
No.
It is a video game musical, which means you're playing characters that are singing, and you decide how their personalities will evolve, and you have like 4 different paths to take.
This definitely sounds like something we should be interested in.
And every decision changes the music and the lyrics, and obviously the story. And this is like, when I saw that, I was like, who apart from Austin Wintory could stuff like that? It's incredible. I think he did a lot of behind the scenes, and I think it's 90 something sessions. I'm guessing a huge chunk of the budget went into music, which for a musical makes sense.
It makes sense.
And it's amazing. I would advise anyone to play it. Yeah, that's my pick.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has just been everything we could have wanted and more. I'm glad. I've had a blast too, and if I could do anything else, if you want to chat at another point in time,
or speak about something else, you just
Incredible.
let me know.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you again, Mr. Brunet, for hanging out with us. That was so much fun. The Audiophiles is a movement of people dedicated to elevating the stature of video game music
And we're really, really excited to have your support. And until next time, play
with sound.